Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fumbling Gurus, a podcast that covers the NFL. And now, your hosts, Tom, John, and Gannon. Hello, everybody. I'm John, and we are so fortunate. We got a member of this group whose team made the Super Bowl. And of course, I'm talking about Tom. I know you're a big Eagles fan and a Chiefs fan, so congratulations. This must have been a dream come true.
Wait, I'm both now?
Oh, I'm sorry, just a Kansas City fan.
Somehow everyone's still talking about Tom Brady. All the freaking shows I watched today are like, oh, Mahomes versus Tom Brady. I don't know.
Reason 9,362 of why I hate that guy. And of course, we are brought to you the guy who I'm really talking about, Gannon. I'm sorry, man.
It is what it is.
So
You win some, you lose some, right?
we're gonna
That's
get
the
in.
saying.
It is. We are gonna get into it, but I think it is only fair, Gannon. We're gonna give you like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, just whatever is on your mind. Go ahead and say it, and the floor is yours, and then we will get into everything. So go ahead and go.
First of all, I think I underestimated Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I think that the game was one of the best Super Bowls I have ever seen. And I think that you got to kind of give a hand to the Chiefs. But yeah, I mean, it always sucks losing the Super Bowl. Like you're watching your team's in it, and the last 2 minutes, you just, yeah. I don't have any more words. I word spaghetti at this point because, yeah.
That is all fair. So I know what everybody really wants to hear about, and that is Tom. What was your food of choice before we got to the game? Before the game even started, what was sitting there on your plate or bowl, ready for you to devour?
I mean, I told you it's chips and queso. Like you can't. So I got a little thing of Velveeta cheese, just like a single helping. Did a the Rotel. You guys know Rotel tomatoes? They got the green chilies, a little bit of spice to them. You literally just take those two things, throw them in a pot, heat it up, and you're done. And it's the best queso.
My mom did that as well as some beans, Rotel beans, to go with it.
Interesting. Never done that.
So it was a very good queso dip. We had buffalo chicken dip. You know that it had. You knew that it was there. We had some Publix wings, and then my
You
mom.
didn't do it yourself, man. Come on. You
I
send me all these pictures of you smoking meats all week, and then you buy your chicken wings.
Yes, and then to be fair, I was going to go someplace that had smoked wings, but then they got sick and had to cancel. So this where we were at. And then my mom made blueberry cookies. So that was my spread. It was quite the spread. I ate a lot. It was delicious and filled up before the game even started. Gannon, we talked about it. Nerves. Did you have a spread? What was it? Was it a veggie platter?
It was also queso, but it was like a bean dip queso. It was really good. We chopped up jalapenos, threw them in there. Yeah,
I like it.
it was cheddar and uh I don't remember the other cheese that was in there. But yeah, it was really good.
I suggest these really sweet orange peppers. They're called habaneros. They're delicious and things, especially when you're
Mozzarella. Sorry.
especially when you're expecting a sweeter pepper. That's what I suggest. It works very well.
Oh, I love those. So, joke's on you.
So well, we're gonna start diving into the game a little bit. You guys ready to dive a little bit into the game?
No.
I think that's why we're here. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take it quarter by quarter. Okay, we're gonna play this out just like the game. So of course we got to start with the coin toss because there is no question. We all talked about it. We all made the bet. Gannon, what was the flip?
It was tails.
And what did you pick?
I picked heads.
That is correct. So you started off the game with a loss, with the big L. and the Eagles get the ball first.
Hold on. Hold on. Flag on the play. Hold on. If we all picked tails, it would have been heads.
But that's not what happened. Tom and I picked tails, so we started with dubs, 1-0. And then the Chiefs won the toss. They decided to defer, and the Eagles get the ball. So we're going to jump right in. First drive of the game, Eagles get the ball, and what happens?
Well, what did you think of? So the Eagles all year, at least this is kind of my impression. They've been the team that eat like I don't remember the stats. I didn't look it up before we started, but they score on like every single first possession they get, and then you hand them the ball first. Like how big of it? Andy Reid is just like, here, take it. Show me you guys can do this. What were you guys' thoughts when he deferred and he gave him the ball on that first drive? Because that was insane.
I was so ready. I hoped they deferred, and they did not disappoint.
What I mean, to be honest with you, I wanted them to defer because Kansas City is a team that, with Mahomes, you never count them out. And I was excited for them to have the ball first in the second half. But I want to pull the curtain back a little bit. So at one point, Tom and I are talking in a group chat with Gannon, and Gannon is not responding. As a matter of fact, somebody else pings him and says, "Hey, you alive?" And he doesn't respond. And so Tom goes, "He will not respond until the Eagles score." The Eagles get the ball, and Gannon take it over. What happens?
I cried. Tears of joy.
Because why?
Jalen Hurts was it was Jalen Hurts scored first, ran it in.
Well, yeah, so the Eagles get the ball, they move down the field, and they score a touchdown. It looks like Gainesville scores, but they find that his elbow hits the ground. He's short by a little bit. And then Jalen Hurts does what Jalen Hurts does, and he rushes it in for the touchdown. And by the way, does anybody remember who you guys picked to score first?
I think I picked AJ Brown to score first.
No, you picked Miles Sanders, who did not score a touchdown. Tom, you had Travis Kelce, who scored first for the Chiefs. But somebody here, this guy, me, had Jalen Hurts scoring.
It all came down to the coin toss.
A rushing touchdown first, and that's what happened. So right off the bat, I'm kind of fist pumping a little bit because I started off 2-0 here. But the Eagles scored first, and they had never been down at any point in the playoffs, but neither had the Chiefs, and now the Chiefs are down. And they respond by going right down the field. And Tom, do you want to kind of explain what happened in that drive?
So that was one of the Eagles went down and scored, and they did it pretty handily. But there was a couple moments there where they had to, put the pedal to the metal and get it done. The Chiefs, so I felt that first drive they didn't really have much resistance from the Eagles. I think the big one, like the first drive, I think was pretty much all Kelce. I think they had a couple rushes or something in between, but there was a big gain to Kelce, a couple rushes, and then a big throw. I mean, that touchdown throw from Mahomes to Kelce was pretty perfect. They made it look super easy, and that was not an easy route to run. That was not an easy catch. But yeah, they just went down. They made it look easy on that first drive. I was a little scared when I saw that because I was like, well, one, you knew it was going to be high scoring because it was Eagles march down score, Chiefs march down score. You know it's going to be the entire game. Both teams just going to keep doing that.
They score. Travis Kelce gets the first touchdown for the Chiefs. And it's a 7-7 game. And then the Eagles stall. Was it a 3-and-out or just one first down? They have to punt the ball. And the Chiefs go down the field. And they're moving the ball. And they get to a 4th-and-5, I think it was. They don't convert. And here comes the field goal unit on the field to kick a 42-yarder with one of the best kickers in the league. Boink! Off the upright. And all of a sudden, I got nervous for the Chiefs. Gannon, When that ball hit the upright, it bounced. It made a noise. We all heard it. You had to have jumped and cheered quite loud.
Yep, because it was still tied up 7-7.
What happened after that?
Uh, I don't remember. But you tell me.
So the Eagles get the ball. They go right down the field, and they make it look easy with some Jalen Hurts rushes. Some.
I think
I was gonna
I
go
think
ahead.
they had a little help from the refs in that drive, didn't they? I think there was one down where it was like 3rd and 5 or something, and I think they got a free first down.
Maybe, but this was the big bomb to
Hmm.
AJ Brown,
Oh yeah, the 45-yard bomb to AJ Brown.
and at first it looked like Brown pushed the safety, but it did not. He did not. The safety just misplayed it,
Hmm.
and boom, Eagles are up 14-7. And then the Chiefs get the ball and they go 3-and-out. And it looks bad. This looks bad. The Eagles start to move the ball. And I mean at this point I'm starting to count the scores. Like this is not good for the Chiefs. It could be 21-7 here real quick, and that's just not good. And then the play of the game maybe kind of happened. Gannon. Well, Jalen Hurts, star player, great player. What was he doing on that fumble?
So I don't know. Was it the turf? Because I heard that the turf was bad. They had to switch cleats. Like he tripped. I don't know. I A fumble's a fumble. It happens. Chiefs are covered, run it down, and they score.
He was so unlucky because he switches hands, the ball bounces out, hits his foot, and bounces straight to the corner. I mean, just that's rough.
Mhm.
Tom, we talked about it earlier. Was that? I mean, I know the Chiefs end up the Eagles end up taking the lead later. Were you going? Well, that's going to cost them. Or what went through your mind on that?
I was just so pissed because the Eagles, up until that point, I mean, I'm not going to say it was a perfect game, but they were playing really well. And they had the momentum. And they were driving down the field again after, like you said, they just stalled the Chiefs. There was nothing going. The Chiefs' last two drives missed the field goal, stalled out on a 3-and-out, and now the Eagles are going down again for another score after a big 45-yard catch. Um, Everything's going right for the Eagles, and then this happened, and you just knew. Like, luckily, the next drive they kept it going, they kept their momentum, but it could have been really bad if they didn't keep it into that next drive. Which I think there was another. Wasn't there another play in that drive right after it that I think it was another fumble. They reviewed it, but there was another, like, oh, it
That was
was,
later in the
yeah, it
game.
was the catch fumble.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that was one of the pivotal plays of the first half. Clearly, of instead of going up 21-7, it's now 14-14.
So we're gonna kind of skip ahead a little bit because we all watched the Super Bowl. I'm hoping most people have seen it. But I wanted to kind of get you in how this game starts, right? A lot of back and forth, and then the Chiefs catch the break. So we end the halftime. We end the half. It is 24-14. So the Eagles, end up scoring. It was 14-14 after that fumble. They end up scoring a few more points there, 10 more points, including kicking the field goal at the end of the half, I believe. So the score is 24-14, 10-point lead, but the Chiefs get the ball first. Gannon, you had to be feeling good, right? Or were you at all nervous that the Chiefs could be the second half team?
Going into halftime, they were 10 points up on the Chiefs. I thought they were just going to keep on rolling with it.
The other
Man,
thing too, don't
I,
forget, at the end of the Chiefs' last play of that second half, Mahomes gets sacked by his ankle. and he could not walk. I mean, he was struggling. So you had to feel good, right? You had to feel like the Eagles had this game in hand at this point, right?
I wanted him to come back. I was hoping he came back because, like I said in the last podcast, I don't want an excuse. So I'm glad he came back. That being said, I don't think they've had a drive where they haven't scored in that half. So I know we're getting into it, but like, yeah, I was feeling real good after halftime. That's we just I'll give you that.
So Tom, you obviously had picked the Eagles to win this game. Um, they're up 24-10 or 24-14, up by 10.
Hmm.
Oh, what were your thoughts going into halftime? Just kind of take me through what all in all, what kind of you were thinking at that point.
I think the biggest thing I mean, right, that play with Mahomes, I think it happened with like a minute left in the half or something, and it was right. I think it was a third down, so they ended up punting right after that.
Yep.
And so it's like and on the sidelines, him getting to the sidelines did not look good. Um, so I think the biggest thing I was thinking is I think right after that they talked about the fact that instead of normally it's like a 15-minute halftime, this was going to be a 29-minute halftime. The only thing I was thinking is how many, and right, I'm just generalizing. I don't know for a fact, but how many injections is he going to get? How many painkillers is he going to get? How long are they going to have to work on him and make sure that he can play in this? And I was like, he's going to be bad. They're going to, whatever they need to do to get him back on the field, they're going to find the way to do it. And yeah, and that's what happened. I mean, he looked completely different when he came out for the second half than when he went in for the first half. Um, but yeah, that was my biggest thing is you knew that extra time was only going to help Mahomes get ready for that second half.
So we end the half, and now we got to talk about. I'm kind of going in order, so it's time to take a step back from the game. They take their minute with 29-minute halftime because we have the halftime show, and here comes Rihanna. Gannon, we talked a little bit. I know Tom and I have talked a little bit, so I kind of know what everyone's feelings are. All in all, what did you think of the halftime show? What did you like? What could have been improved? Whatever your overall thoughts, what did you think of it?
How ballsy do you have to be suspended by that platform that high up in the air?
Mm.
Like, wouldn't you be a little nervous?
That
Now,
Didn't she didn't show it. And also you know, as a 90s kid, you know, I kind of grew up with Rihanna's music, so I underestimated how many songs I actually knew by her till halftime show. So
that
I,
is
I
true.
can tell you. Go ahead, Tom.
I was that is true. I didn't realize how many songs I knew that were her. Um, but yeah, the ending. I know we just got into talking about it, but you talk about suspended. Uh, the very end, she's like all the way up at the top of the stadium. All the fireworks are going off around her. I was like, I don't know if I could do that. Stand in front of how many millions of people suspended on a platform with all these fireworks going everywhere.
and she looked up at him. She looked up at him.
Yeah, it was insane.
Before the halftime show started, my sister and I were talking, and I was going through like songs because I knew like two songs from her, and we're like going through the catalog, and I'm like, oh wow, I know a lot more than just two.
Yep.
Like I was surprised. So at that point, I was like, all right, this could be good. And I'm going to preface this by saying this: the song selections, we knew that going in that it was going to be kind of her catalog of hits,
Mm-hmm.
and she did a great job with that. I felt that her singing, she's a good singer. She showed that she's a good singer. Her songs were the hits, other than the one song that probably is a little too risque for the NFL. But I mean, the chains for the first down marker. I mean, it makes sense. Chains excite people. but
Plugs are moving.
but the performance itself, I thought I thought was very just non-memorable. I felt that in 3 years you can tell me that Rihanna did the halftime show and I'll go, no, she didn't. It just doesn't stick out. She didn't move. She just kind of sat. She danced a little bit, but nothing crazy. And I know she had a special guest on the show that she had been rumoring the whole time, and then releases right after it's official. But I thought the performance was lackluster. I, I thought it was lackluster.
Here's what I'm gonna say. How many Super Bowls have you seen? A lot, right? Have you ever had a halftime show that wasn't scrutinized in some way, shape, or form?
Absolutely. But here's the thing. There are memorable halftime shows. You have Lady Gaga bungee jumping while singing. You have Katy Perry on the giant lion or tiger. Uh, you have the fish, which was a little diss at was it Taylor Swift? I think it was. You have these different. I mean, of course it's fresh. So I mean, of course I remember Dr. Dre's. Like those are memorable.
You have to realize she's also pregnant, so she can't bungee jump around. She can't flip off stage. Like,
I will tell you this, and I'm going to say this, and I'm sticking to it. If you're going to be pregnant, at the halftime show, go all out. Make your announcement at the halftime show. Lean into the fact you're pregnant. Don't try to cover it up and have a lackluster show and then blame it on the pregnancy. Lean into it and make it memorable. How memorable would it have been if she would have taken her coat off and boom, there's like a baby on her belly? People would have talked about it.
her coat was unzipped. Wait, are you telling me you couldn't realize she was pregnant?
I'm telling you that it was not memorable. That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying it wouldn't take a genius to realize she was pregnant. She
I'm
made it
saying
very
don't
clear.
be subtle. Don't
She made it
if you're
very
going,
clear.
lean into it. Tom's over
I
here
don't know.
laughing, not
I
saying
don't know.
much.
I'm on both
Listen.
sides. I'm on both sides. Um, I think she did well for the circumstances, and I think she did great for the circumstances. But yeah, I don't know. There were parts of it that just didn't have much energy, which I get. I think that's just part of, again, you know, her being pregnant during the show. But it's like, yeah, but you're also kind of here to have energy. So yeah, I see it both ways. I think it was a good show. I think the other thing that I didn't necessarily like is the platforms. I think it would have been cool in person because you could see them move and see how they're kind of interacting. You couldn't really see it on TV. Like you're only really seeing one platform at a time, or if they were moving, they kind of showed you like you could kind of see what was going on. I think that was the biggest thing for me is just on TV you couldn't see the full thing, and it's such a big scale because it's basically the entire stadium. You couldn't really see all the cool stuff. So that was my main complaint is you just couldn't see the platforms interacting with each other.
I did like you get an elevated view, so when she was up there, you saw all the cell phones around, and she was playing Diamond something. Yeah, that was cool.
I want to say this. I want to be very clear. If you close your eyes and listen to the halftime show, it was very, very good. If you just watched it, it was not good. That is my stance. You guys can disagree, but that is my stance.
I will disagree. These last two halftime shows were pretty good in my opinion. Last year's and
One
this
of the
year.
last two, I do agree. And I can't speak on the weekend because I was driving home during that halftime performance.
Yeah, I also missed that because you were on the phone with me.
Yeah, we
during
don't need to
that,
talk
so.
about that. That's a different story. So
Something to do with Tom Brady, I'm sure.
it was something like that. So we're gonna jump right into the second half of the game, unless you have anything else you want to say about the halftime show. All right, so we all agree I'm right. Gannon's wrong. Tom, you side with me. Got it.
Uh-huh.
So the halftime starts, and Patrick Mahomes, of course, is out on the football field. He got his injection. He's got his medicine. He got. I think one of the fans actually may have cut their ankle off and gave it to him. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but
Animal sacrifice.
I believe somebody did do that. Okay. The Eagles' defense, man. I thought they were like the best in the league. Gannon, they had 230 yards 330 yards of offense in front of them. The Chiefs moved the ball 321 yards of the possible 330 yards. The only 9 yards that they didn't move was at the very end of the game, which we're going to discuss here in a minute. What happened to the Eagles' defense?
As a whole, because like I know we're breaking it down, but like after halftime, I feel like they left all the good players in the locker room and gave me a bunch of rookies. Because one, where was Hassan Reddick? Where was the 70 sack team in the regular season that we saw? Like they weren't there. They couldn't even get close enough to Patrick Mahomes to smell the ointment they rubbed on his leg, right? Like I just where were they? Where's the secondary? I play calls like Juju was wide open. Kelsey was wide open by a huge margin. There was nobody close to him.
The Chiefs clearly studied something
Gosh.
when it came to the motioning guys, and they went to the same play twice within the last 5 minutes of the game, and both times resulted in touchdowns. Both times absolutely wide open, and there was some sort of mess up in the Eagles secondary when they motioned across for a jet sweep, and it allowed the receiver to kind of flank back around and just be completely uncovered. Uh, Guy Moore, I think, did it, and then Juju did it as well, or something. I I was shocked. Okay, I really really was surprised. The Eagles defense just didn't show up. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
Tom,
couldn't
you
agree
talked
more.
about last week the Hassan Reddick guy. I mean, you expected. I mean, everybody expected a big game. I, it was bad. The second half of the Eagles defense was just it was abysmal.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think the field didn't help. Like I saw multiple times um, pass rushers falling down. I think like that to me is probably some of Reddick's excuse, whatever you want to say. Because there was multiple times that I saw him trying to go around the side, and he just flat out fell. He just, feet came out from under him, and he fell flat on the ground. Um, so I think it's just a mix of that, a mix of maybe not being in this spotlight before. Um, like when I look at that, right, I see a Chiefs team that's been here before, with leaders that have been here before, coaches that have been here before, and they were prepped. Like you were saying, they had a game plan, they executed the game plan, and it worked. And the Eagles, like we were talking about last week, it kind of felt like we're the better team. We have better position players all over the board. We're just going to come out and play better. And they did for most of the game. But then when it mattered in the third, fourth quarter, the Chiefs' game plan started to catch up. And they were continuing to execute on the game plan, and the Eagles stopped executing in general. And once the position players couldn't win it anymore for the Eagles, they started to struggle. And I think that's really what I felt in that second half is the coaches. There was even like maybe this kind of highlights it. There was a play in the second half where they took a delay of game because they weren't ready. They didn't get the playoff in time, and the coach was pissed at his assistant coach. He's like, "How can you let this happen?" It's like, well, that to me means you didn't. I did. It happens, right? But this is a Super Bowl. You're telling me you have a delay a game in the Super Bowl. You weren't ready. You weren't prepped. You didn't know what you were doing. Um, So I think that's all it was for me. The Chiefs coaches just did a better job at prepping and having that game plan, and they did it through the whole game.
One thing that I meant to highlight earlier, and I really want to highlight it now. There were two guys, one on each side, that were absolute warriors for their team and played a huge role on both teams' success. Devontae Smith comes in and gets rolled on, and I mean that ankle injury looked bad. I mean, I thought he was done,
Mm-hmm.
and he missed one play and came out had 100 yards through the air. I mean, what a gamer! And Pacheco, the running back for Kansas City, seventh round pick. That guy ran as hard as I've ever seen a running back run. He dropped his shoulder. He took a monster hit. I mean, he looked. I thought he got cut in half, and he bounces up and continues playing, and then breaks like a 20-yard run the next time. I mean, it was very impressive. Those two guys. I know. We'll kind of overall kind of talk about that stuff, but those are two guys that I wanted to highlight. I mean, just tough. I mean, both sides.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, Hertz is another one that, like, he just carried the team on his back, essentially. He had what 3 rushing touchdowns. I think he had another passing touchdown on top of that. He had 300 something yards passing. I think he had over 70, 80 yards rushing, which these stats are like unheard of in a Super Bowl. Um, and 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 he still couldn't get it done. I mean, what quarterback scores 4 touchdowns, 4 total touchdowns in a Super Bowl and still can't win the game? It's just insane.
The Eagles have themselves a quarterback. I mean, I know that's not a shocker, but I had doubt. I had doubt in Hurts. It was doubt from last year. It was doubt from the rest of the year. It was doubt going into the season. This guy showed up in the biggest game of his life, and he absolutely balled out. I will get. The Eagles, because of Hurts, are going to be a tough team for the next 10 years. I mean, he is one of the top young quarterbacks in this league.
Do you, do
Yeah,
you,
and go ahead. Go, sorry, go ahead, Tom.
I would say, do you think there's an argument that he should have gotten the MVP over Mahomes, even though his team lost?
You that award always goes to the winning team. I mean, so
I mean,
no,
it's happened once before,
has it? I was
where
always
yeah,
pretty sure that the MVP went to the winner side.
no, there was one. His name was like Howley, I believe. He was a linebacker. He won MVP one year on the losing team.
You know the absolute backlash they would get if they didn't name Mahomes the MVP.
But Hertz was
Dude,
like legit. Without Hertz, Eagles have zero chance.
yeah. I
Hertz
mean,
put Eagles on his back. Mahomes, I don't feel did as much as Hertz did. Mahomes didn't do as much for the Chiefs as Hertz did for the Eagles.
when it came to crucial first downs, those QB sneaks that were happening all game,
Hmm.
that's all hurts.
I get
It.
it. I get it, John. You can't and you won't. But is there an argument there?
I mean, all right. If you look at just the raw numbers, all right, I'm just gonna raw numbers right here.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts had 304 passing yards, 70 yards on the ground, and 4 total touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes had 182 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 44 additional yards on the ground, but 0 rushing touchdowns. So when you look at just the numbers as a whole, I mean, there's no question Hurts had the better game. Some of that though was because of the defensive touchdown, and the Chiefs had one less possession. I'm not, I mean, Mahomes threw the ball 27 times. Hurts had 27 completions, completed passes. So, I, you know, I think there's an argument to be said that which was the better quarterback, who had the better game, and I think Hurts had the better game.
Yeah. I feel bad for him. I honestly do. Like his story, how he got here, everything that happened in college, he gets his chance, he kills it, and it's just not enough. Uh,
Yeah, it's too bad the Eagles didn't have Tua Tagovailoa to come in and win the deal
Uh-huh.
for him.
I will tell you this. Jalen Hurts will always be better in the NFL than Tua Tagovailoa. And I will take that to the bank.
Yeah, we'll
Called
see
out.
about that because
Called out.
I
Clip
believe
this.
I believe
Save
we're
it.
I believe we're about to see the best of Tua Tagovailoa in the next 2 years here. So we're gonna kind of get again. I don't want to go play by play here, but we're gonna get down to it. So the Chiefs, they obviously had their way with the Eagles defense. The Eagles, they scored some, they tied it up. Things were looking interesting. It was coming down to what, 7 minutes left, 5 minutes left. I think it was 5.5 minutes left, game tied. Hurts scores the touchdown, gets the 2 point conversion, and all of a sudden things are dicey. And the Chiefs get the ball and they move down the field. And the controversy. First off, before we even get to that point, we have controversy. Gannon, you
Wait,
want to say something?
wait. Did you miss the 60-yard punt return?
hmm.
Yeah, we had that too. I did kind of forget about that for a second. But I want to talk. We had some controversy, and we're going to talk about it. Tom, can you tell me what a catch is in the NFL?
Um, you have to catch the ball. You have to possess the ball.
Yep.
You have to. This is my understanding. Either take 3 steps or make a football move, and then you're considered in possession of the ball and it's a catch. Unless you're by the sidelines, then it's just 2 feet. But you're allowed to bobble, like have possession, lose possession, regain possession, and then you only need 1 step if that happens. Hey, wait, do you need me to keep going on all the edge cases or?
Here's my problem. The NFL, I'm going to get on my little soapbox for a second, then I'm going to step off of it. I'm going to shut up the rest of the podcast. I have said for a while that the NFL has a problem. It's not, it's this podcast, I've said it 100 times. One of the problems is that fans who watch the sport week in and week out cannot tell you what the rules are.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot tell you and look at what a catch is and go, that is 100% a catch. And in the Super Bowl, when you have the largest audience watching a game, and a lot of times this is the one game a year that these guys will watch, how are they supposed to know what a catch is? How are they supposed to follow along if the NFL can't make it simple on what a catch is? That is a disservice to the fans of all levels, from the beginner to the super watchers to the people who live and breathe the sport. You had Mike Piera, a ex-NFL official, say on the first Devontae Smith catch that there's no way they overturn it, only to have them overturn it.
I think to me that's the other part of this is you make it, you state it that it has to be clear and obvious. You can't tell me that first catch was clear and obvious that it wasn't a catch. Sure, was there movement? Yeah, but there's allowed to be movement. So then what's the obvious aspect to him not making the I don't know. And that's like you're saying that was the commentators position is it's not obvious. Like yeah, is there you can make an argument but it's not obvious and clear that he did not possess that football. But they overturned it. They decided, oh no, it is very clear he did not make that catch. I didn't agree with that call either.
Also, they threw a flag and then gave Andy Reid time to throw the challenge flag after.
Yeah.
So,
That was the correct call, and I know that it looks bad, especially after the Kansas City Chiefs got a redo on a very weird play the week before. 2 weeks before, whatever, but against the Bengals. But basically, what happened on that was the officials were supposed to hold the snap and allow the Chiefs to be able to match the personnel that the Eagles substituted with. Because the play happened out of bounds, that is a substitution rule. The officials did not do that, and they realized they did not do that. And so, as they were getting ready to snap the ball, the official threw the flag and blew the whistle to stop the play dead, so that way they didn't have to go back in time and try to redo anything. It was the correct call. It was just an unfortunate call. However, it did cost the Chiefs a timeout and a challenge because Goddard did catch the football.
Yeah, it ended up well. Like it ended up still being positive for the Eagles, but I agree that was the dumbest set of like. Yeah, let's give him an extra 10 minutes to look at this and decide if he wants to challenge.
Which is interesting.
All the time in the world.
There's a
I
sky
didn't
judge
get
that
it.
can challenge it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll end, not end. We're going to, no, Gannon wants to talk about something
No.
else.
No. Go ahead. I came into this podcast not wanting to blame the refs, so I'm sticking to that. Not talking about it.
Here's the deal. I will say this, I've said this before. The officials do not determine a winner. The officials impact games and they make it more difficult, but they did not cause the Eagles to lose this game. The Eagles gave up a touchdown on every single possession until the very end when it was a field goal. The Eagles could have made a single stop at any of those points to win the game. Jalen Hurts fumbles the football and gave the Chiefs 7 points. Hurts doesn't fumble that ball, and I believe this game's different.
But it was tied up.
It doesn't matter.
It was tied up.
It was still tied up, but I'm saying those are the moments in the game that led to the Eagles' loss. What happened at the 2-minute mark closed the book on the Eagles having an opportunity to come back. But it did not determine the game.
Listen, Next Level Chef was coming up next, and they needed to close that game off because there's no way this could go into overtime. So they needed that.
So we're going to talk about the controversy. We're going to make it simple. Gannon, was it the right call? And why or why not?
Of course it wasn't the right call. I've spent all day listening to people talk about this call, and not one person says, dang, that was the right call. Good job, officials. Except for Cowboy fans and 49er fans.
And Bradbury, the corner that it was flagged on.
Yeah, but listen, that, of course, right? But that could have been called all game. Like, that did not look like a hold to anybody. If you're calling it there, you should have called it for 60% of these other plays. Am I wrong at this? The ball wasn't even catchable. The ball wasn't even catchable. Even holding, dude, he didn't slow him down. He wouldn't have caught that ball, regardless if he held or not. So you flag the Eagles. You seal the game for the Chiefs on a play that Juju wouldn't even have caught.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. So I know I go back to Sauter quite a bit. But in Sauter, the referee's given basically the power to say, yeah, that's a foul, but it's not an egregious foul that I'm going to call. And that's what this was to me. Letter of the law, was it a foul? Sure, maybe. I'm not even sure I agree with that. But letter of the law, maybe it's a foul. Spirit of the law, you don't call that foul. You let them play. It's the Super Bowl. You let the teams determine what's going to happen here. You don't. If they really, like you said, if it was a catchable ball, if he held him to the point where he couldn't move, if it was, sure, I could see that being called. You have to call that. I don't agree with this. How many Super Bowls do you think have gone into overtime?
I believe it's just been 1 or 2.
Yeah, one Super Bowl. This is
Was it
supposed
that
to.
Patriots Falcons one?
Yeah, when they came back and won. Yeah. There's just one. This is supposed to be the best of the best playing against each other. And the biggest game and only one's gone into overtime. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not saying I agree with you, John. I'm not saying the Eagles would have won that game, but it would have been a hell of a lot better of a closing game had the Eagles had a chance to make a play. Throw a 50-yard, 45, another 45-yard bomb. Gets picked, fine. I don't have an excuse to blame the refs.
The other thing, so there is two plays that I feel coming out of this game are going to change. Probably the quarterback sneak, being able to push people in the quarterback sneak pile or whatever. And then two, the freaking slide of not going in the end zone. I don't think I think that should be a flag or a loss of down or something. Because it's it just makes me so mad when someone does
I
that.
didn't know you could do that. I had no idea you could even do that.
Same as the kneel
That's
down.
intentionally not scoring
Yeah.
when you could.
It's the same thing as a kneel down at the end of the game by a quarterback.
Is
So
it?
then just do a
You
kneel
could
down.
clearly score. You could clearly score, but choose
What
not to.
one of my favorite moments was I believe it was Austin Eckler that tried to do that, and
And
he was
then,
trying to go down, and the defense grabbed him, picked him up, and fell backwards and made him score.
yeah.
So I think there are ways around that as a defense. Just don't show your cards. I mean, clearly the Eagles were giving up and letting him walk in, and he made him realize, oh wait, I can, and thought about what he needed to do.
Yeah.
If they pursue him full speed, maybe he doesn't realize where he's on the field and for power of the moment, and he scores.
It's just dumb. Yeah.
I don't
I don't
like it.
foresee that changing, but I do foresee the QB sneak. The Eagles have broke it.
Here's the thing about the QB sneak, okay? I've seen plenty of running backs get pushed by the defensive players right over the line. So how is it different between quarterbacks and running backs?
I think in general that's going to be changed. I don't think it's just quarterbacks. I think they're going to. It used to be that you couldn't do that, or in college you can't do that. So they're just going to eliminate that.
Fair enough.
That's what pissed me off more about it. They get the flag, they get the next set of downs, and then the very next play, they're just like, nah, I'm not gonna score. I'm just gonna waste more time. It was just like the biggest string of FUs you could have. And yeah, I was not having
I
it.
the minute he did that, I
So
lost
one
for
of the
words.
things that I talked to my dad about, and that was one of what really stunk about it was the fact that you had this great game lined up for this potential just amazing finish. You had excitement from will the Chiefs make the field goal?
Mm-hmm.
What the Eagles will have a minute 20, minute 30 left with no timeouts to go down the field and just to get themselves a chance to either win it or tie it. You had all this drama being built up. That penalty went from that to will this guy who missed a kick earlier make the kick? Because the Eagles were never going to get another opportunity. And that part stunk. Now, I do believe that Bradbury had been grabbing a lot all game. There was a play in I believe the second quarter where he clearly grabbed Juju Schuster and spun him. Should have flagged, wasn't. And so you wonder if it wasn't called all game, why then and there are they calling something that was less contact? I'm so torn because was it not catchable, or was it not catchable because of the hold?
Dude,
Because clearly there was enough of a grab where Bradbury said, "Yeah, I grabbed him. I was hoping I'd get away with it." Juju was quickly throwing his arms up. Mahomes was pointing right away, trying to be like, "Yo, what are you guys doing?" It it would have been interesting how it would have played out. At the end of the day, I hate that the officials are the last person to speak before the game ends.
I mean, Bradbury's gonna say that. You really think he's gonna be like, no, the refs ruined it for us? No, because they'll fine them or they'll
He,
whatever.
he doesn't have to say that he can't criticize the officials, but he doesn't have to say that I grabbed him. I just hope that wish that they I was hoping that they weren't going to call it.
He's just taking the high road. The dude just lost the Super Bowl. If he sits there and he's like, yeah, you know what, they lost us the game. He just shouldn't get himself into whatever place. He's just like, you know what, yeah, you're right. I grabbed him. It was a foul. Whatever. Let's move on. He's just done with it. I think that's all it is. I don't think that's any. Sure, is it an admission of guilt if you want to say so? But I think it's him just being like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Sure, I grabbed him. You're right. That was a foul. He's just done with it.
But it looked to me like it didn't slow Juju down enough to where he could have caught that ball
No.
at all, or at all. Like it looks like his hand just grazed his back, and they called it a hold.
When you
It was
watch it
a
in slow motion, I was like, oh, you know what? That might be a foul. And then you watch it in real time, you're like, nothing happened. No,
yeah.
like the dude was free to run wherever he wanted to run. There was no
Hmm.
hold.
At the very least, it was a penalty that it's going to be controversial. And Chiefs fans say it was definitely a hold, and pretty much everybody else will say, yeah, I don't know about that.
Hmm.
Gannon, I'm sorry the way it ended the way it did. The Eagles put up a much better fight than I predicted. So we talked about Hurts, amazing game, player of the game for probably all of us. I think we can agree with, right? Who stood out to you the most in this game besides Hurts?
Kelsey, definitely. Like that guy stayed open. It felt like the entire game, somehow, some way. I mean, we talked about the Eagles defense not being that good second half, but man, like if there's one guy to guard and you're game planning, wouldn't it be Kelsey?
I mean,
Where were where were the people guarding him?
everyone game plans for him, and no one can figure it out. I mean, I'm no strategist or an NFL expert, but it's like someone's got to be able to figure out something against this guy week in and week out. He just destroys every team he goes up against.
There was one play. He walks right past the defender and goes like this after he makes the catch because man, where were they? Nobody saw him.
Outside of Hurts, who stood out for you in this game?
I mean, if I had if I had to pick one, um, I'd probably say the Chiefs running back. Um, I I didn't think heading into this game, no one expected them to have much of a run game, and he came out of nowhere. I feel like I don't know his numbers. I don't know what he did the rest of the season, but this had to have been like a career day for him, or at least one of his best. Yeah, and I think he was a spark that the Eagles didn't necessarily plan for.
Pacheco, he's been a decent running back all year, at least fantasy wise. I mean, he was an okay option, but he ended the game 15 carries, 76 yards, a touchdown with a long of 24 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
good game, especially considering they pass the ball as much as they do.
yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, Super Bowl is not easy to get like normal regular season yards. If that was a regular season game, he would have had like 150 yards. Um,
Easy.
but yeah, he was probably the most impressive that I just was not expecting.
My kind of player of the game was Devontae Smith. I love the kid coming out of college. He was the wide receiver that I wanted the Dolphins to draft, and he had kind of a little bit of a slow start to his career. I mean, he did not have a great year last year. It was good, but not great. He really came on the last half of the season and 100 yards in the Super Bowl. The only play that really stood out to me that stunk was he catches the long ball and he just can't keep his feet in bounds and he stumbles out of bounds at like the 2 yard line. which
Mm.
sets up like Jalen Hurts' third rushing touchdown of the day. So it was really nice and cool to see that guy. I mean, he is such a wonderful route runner, and the way he gets open, it's so unique to watch. So I was very impressed uh, with the way he played. Well, I know we're kind of wrapping up. Is there anything more you want to talk about this game, Gannon? I'm gonna throw it to you first here. So there's something else I want to talk about real quick.
Okay. I just want to clarify that we talked about the last play of the game, but that is not why the Eagles lost the game. It was their defense, and I blame the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. We need to get him out of there because I've been on that guy all season long, ups and downs. I'm like, he can be really good, but man, can he be really bad? And when it mattered the most in the Super Bowl, we saw who he truly was and how he ran that team. And that's not acceptable.
Well, good chance he's going to be the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Great.
Tom, anything last you want to talk about the game before we move on?
No, I think, and I don't know if I know we talked a little bit before the podcast and kind of prepping for this, but the field was terrible. Um, they talked about it a lot. That they weren't hiding it. People were changing cleats left and right. No one could get traction, and I don't know. I get both teams are a little bit kind of focused on the run, but I definitely feel the Eagles are more so focused on that. And it's like you have one team that's their bread and butter, and you can't get them a good field to play on. And I don't know, I felt the Eagles were a little cheated by that. I don't know. So much money's poured into this, and you have a field like that they're playing on. I felt that was pretty unacceptable for them to put that forth.
$800,000, and the NFL started growing that grass the day after the Super Bowl let out last year. That is atrocious, and the NFL should be ashamed of that product being put on the stadium,
Mm.
on the field, whatever. All right, well, we got to talk about it because I know a lot of people watch the Super Bowl for this. Gannon, Tom, what was your favorite commercial? I'm gonna let you think about it. I'm gonna tell you the commercial that I thought was clever.
All right.
That was the commercial that looked like somebody changed the channel because the reaction from a lot of people was great. People freaking out that somebody was sitting on the remote because all of a sudden, boom, the channel changed. Oh, that was great, very clever, well done. Don't ask me what the ad was because I don't know, but well done, well played.
Mm.
Uh that was probably mine, but I'll go with another one. I liked the electric car commercial where they're talking about like people who don't have electric cars, and it was like ED basically. It was like an ED commercial, but it was like with electric cars. I don't know. I got a kick out of that one.
I'm gonna have to go back. I don't think I remember that one.
It was pretty funny.
Um, I would have to say the one that got me the most. There was some good ones. I think the one that got me the most was the Breaking Bad with the chips. Dude, and the only the only thing the saving like it was okay, right? The beginning was like okay, it's like okay, they're making the scene from the show. I get it, it's funny. But when they brought was it Tito or whatever the guy and he's
Mhm.
like
Tuco.
I want seven. I need seven. And they're like, okay, we'll do seven. I think that was the funniest commercial for me.
Yeah. I would have agreed with you had it not been spoiled for me because they launched all of the commercials ahead of time. So I saw that one before the
Mm.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, I didn't watch any spoilers. So I was, yeah.
I will
Yeah.
also say we don't want to harp on that because but the commercial with the cougar and they're like, and the cougars hunting. That made me chuckle the way it was done and portrayed.
Hmm.
Little. Little double entendre. That's always fun.
Also, what's with all these QR code commercials? Where it was just a QR code right smack in the dab of your screen for a minute. And I'm like, this isn't fun. This is just
Who
dumb.
and who does it? Like who's
Who
scanning
scanned
it?
it? Did you scan it? I didn't
No.
scan it.
No,
Nobody I know scanned it.
no. I think it
I'm gonna be
was.
real.
Go ahead, John.
I don't trust it. I feel like if
No.
I scan it, I'm gonna get a virus on my phone that's gonna hack into it and they're gonna steal my information.
Oh, it will.
Well, I think it was started last year with one of the crypto companies had an ad that literally was just a QR code, and it was everyone was like talking about just like, oh, did someone scan it? What? I think it was just the same from like they're just piggybacking off of that, but yeah, there was more than there should have been.
Definitely.
Well, that pretty much wraps up the Super Bowl week. I want to give a large and loud shout out to Mr. Zach Thomas and Rondé Barber, two very deserving Hall of Famers who finally got their name called and are in the NFL Hall of Fame. Congratulations, those two. I know there were others. Look, I'm not just trying to cut those guys down. But Ronnie Barber, Zach Thomas absolutely deserved it. They deserved it earlier. So huge congratulations to them. And I know it's kind of like my final thought there, but like not my final thought. I just wanted to throw that out there. And Aaron Rodgers, enjoy your 4 days of pure darkness starting today. A little bit of from last week, I do want to clarify something. We talked about the shadowy man. After doing a little more research, that is false. That he does not
Allegedly,
see that.
allegedly false.
Allegedly
Allegedly.
false. Or allegedly he saw it. Allegedly it is false. Where that's for him to know and us to chuckle at. But that's kind of what's going on in the NFL. So that kind of wraps up our show. And now it's Gannon. Your final thought of
Don't
Super
do
Bowl.
drugs. But that's not my final thought. Okay, so my final thought. Okay, I got two, technically. All right. Okay, so I wouldn't be an Eagles fan if I didn't dig at the Cowboys a little bit. All right. So, what was that award that Dak won? I forget his name.
Walter
Walter
Payton.
Payton?
Payton.
Yeah.
Walter Payton Award, okay? Dak Prescott is at the Super Bowl getting this award, and I see this meme that says, this is the closest Dak Prescott is ever going to get to the Super Bowl, and I lost it because it's kind of true. I mean, but yeah, okay. Anyway, that was one of my final thoughts. I
John's
chuckled.
just
I don't.
holding it. I know what he wants to say right now.
Hey, that's fine. I mean, your quarterback's probably not going to get there either. I mean, your team hasn't been in like 30 years. It's fine. Anyway, so that away. And, it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. So I have a give me for you guys. Okay. I can't take credit for this. I saw this somewhere today and it made me laugh. So I'm going to give it to you guys. So if you want it, you can have it. But it says, I just want to let you know that the refs can throw a flag on me anytime for holding you. It's my final thought.
I'm not sure my wife would appreciate that, but I'm still gonna use it.
You can use it. I dare you to use it. It's great.
That reminds me that I'm sorry. I'm gonna of the commercial with the flag football, and it was the girl running with the yellow flag on her hip, and nobody could grab it. There was so much of me wishing that the one person that could grab the yellow flag and toss it was an official. Like that was all I thought about the entire time that commercial was being played was please let that happen because the only person who can throw a flag like that is the NFL officials. Anyways, I digress. Tom, your final thoughts.
Oh man, it's been a long season. Um, I think it was a pretty good season for all of our teams. Maybe my team less so than others, but it was still fun hanging out with you guys, going in and week out. Um, I just wish it ended a little like you said, had to give the Eagles a chance. Like that's what this game about, right? Entertainment. It was not entertaining to see that end. But other than that, great season, good season of the podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Those are my final thoughts for the season.
I don't want to interject into your final thought, but I
Go
always
ahead.
take this opportunity to dig at John just a little bit. I mean, your team did make the playoffs, so I
Yeah,
mean, we
yeah.
talk about good teams.
Did you forget Miami made the playoffs?
Did they?
They faced the Bills with Skylar Thompson, my guy, and took them
Oh,
down to the brink.
oh, oh,
Uh,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
that's
If
the
you're gonna
best.
dig at my team, dig at them properly.
I'm sorry. You're right.
That's the best final thought we've had all year. Thank you, Janon.
I'm sorry. I
Well, I
apologize
don't
to
even know what
Finn.
I'm gonna say anymore.
I
That was
apologize to Finn and the entire Miami organization.
Listen, we don't make it to the playoffs very often. You don't take that away from us.
I get you.
Matt Moore was our last starting quarterback to make the playoffs, and he was the backup because Brian Tannehill got hurt. R.I.P. He's
Feels
not
bad.
dead. It's just
Not there.
that won our playoff chances.
Mm,
Well, guys, it is Valentine's Day, and so as Gannon mentioned tomorrow, Tom said thank you so much, and I'm just going to kind of combine them. Thank you guys. We really do appreciate it. It's fun chit-chatting and kind of just talking in general with these guys, but we do it. Hopefully you guys can get a little something out of it. So thank you. If you're a guy, don't forget Valentine's Day. Go to Walmart now. It's getting late. You need to pick something up. If not, first thing in the morning. Come on. Don't be that guy. Uh, that's pretty much it. I don't really have much of a final thought other than the Dolphins made the playoffs with a better record than the Bucks. So if you're gonna diss the Dolphins, you better diss the Bucks. All right. That's it. I don't got nothing else.
That you're gonna
totally
end
forgot they made
on
the playoff.
diss the Bucks, not the Dolphins.
No,
Come on, man.
Oh, threw me, man. My brain
listen,
just went like, come on, that was so rude of him to say Miami didn't make the playoffs when Skylar Thompson took on Josh Allen. Skylar Thompson,
maybe
seventh
next
round
year you'll have a
rookie.
healthy enough team to actually do something in the playoffs.
That hurts, man.
I'm
That hurts.
sorry. I'm
That hurts as
sorry.
much as Jalen Hurts fumbling that football.
Hey, and then he came back and scored.
Uh,
This is I don't want to be wrong, but I think this is more points scored than any Miami Super Bowl ever. Am I wrong? I don't know.
I think
We'll
we're
find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
The last time the Dolphins made the Super Bowl was 1984. It was a different era. All right, the last time they won was 73. It was a completely different era.
leather
So
helmets.
shooken. Right? Less flags.
According to Goodell, the officiating hasn't been any worse, or hasn't been any better than whatever. You know what to say if he said officiating's the best it's been.
Like I'm saving this, okay? I'm saving this. All
Well, the
right.
last few minutes have been interesting to say the least. But guys, we really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you catch us out on YouTube, you should come see us live. And if you guys ever want to rewatch it because show your friends, whatever, catch it on YouTube. We appreciate it. The Fumbling Gurus. Bye.